What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Marcus, and here today in front of us is the first all-electric Mini Cooper. It's a Mini Cooper S, and here in Canada, it starts at $39,990. Let's get into it. Okay, so starting at just under $40,000 Canadian, this is actually, in fact, one of the least expensive electric vehicles on the market today. Not only that, it's one of the smallest, but there's a trade-off here. It also has one of the shortest ranges of any electric vehicle. It's rated at around 185 kilometers of range, and if you're really booting it, you're not even getting close to that. So we're gonna get into that. This is basically the fully spec'd out Premier model. As you can see, it has these kind of lime green, yellowish highlighter accents on it, as well as a signature Cooper S hood scoop that is in fact doing nothing. That's a fake scoop right there. Couple different changes on the Cooper S versus the normal gas-powered one. Because of the batteries, as you guys can see, it actually sits a little bit higher up in ride height because, you know, to compensate for the batteries. And some of the suspension components are carried over from the larger Mini Coopers. But let's go for a drive. We'll take it on the road and see how it actually performs in real world conditions and how it charges, etc., etc. Let's go for a drive. All right, here we go, you guys. This is gonna be the most silent Roads Untraveled video ever, but that doesn't mean we can't just mat it and go all out, and that's 120 kilometers an hour. So, Mini Cooper S. This is not just any Mini Cooper S. This is the very first all-electric Mini product. Very exciting times, okay? When we basically, I believe the only all-electric vehicle we've ever reviewed on the channel was back in 2015. We drove, thanks to Sea to Sky Exotics and Ali Henderson, we were able to drive a P85D, a Model S P85D, when that was, you know, relatively new. That was basically a brand new car. It was the fastest Tesla model at the time. Now in Tesla's world, kind of considered slow. Well, not slow at all, but that's the context there. Since then, I've driven a couple of electric vehicles, Nissan Leaf, BMW 530e, which is a plug-in hybrid. So yeah, you know, drive around a little bit on only battery power in that car. But this is a Mini Cooper S, but with no gasoline, which is funny because immediately when you look at the car, you're like, okay, well, it's still, you guys, it still has a hood scoop. It's not pulling in any air though. It's actually just a blocked off plate, but it still kind of has that Mini essence and that Mini Cooper S kind of cool, young, hip look to it, which, you know, these modern BMW Minis have been known for quite some time now. So, like I said, starts here in Canada at $39,990. This one, as we'll get to in a little bit, is pretty much fully spec'd out. Because it is March here in BC. So this one has been given to us from Mini with winter tires. Now, normally this car would come with 17s regardless across the board, but this one is fitted with 16-inch wheels. Now, I don't know if these wheels have come off like some other Mini product, but I didn't see them when I was on mini.ca. I did not see these wheels that you were able to spec them on this car. So that's kind of interesting, but just because it is cold out, we are running the winters, and that probably will cut your range down a little bit. Now, like I said, 181 horsepower, 199 pound-feet of torque, and that doesn't sound like a lot. To me, a gearhead, and to you guys, maybe Mini enthusiasts, maybe not, that may absolutely just sound like a laughable amount of power and torque. Anything under 200 horsepower these days, in my opinion, just seems like not enough. It's gonna be gutless, but that is absolutely not the case. Not the case here in the Mini Cooper. This is the most insane 200 pound-feet you will ever experience in your life. And I'm not exaggerating. Let's see here, we'll slow down a little bit to about 50 kilometers an hour. And if we mat it, the tires are struggling for traction, and that's 100 kilometers an hour. So it's not slow. This is not a slow vehicle. They didn't just take a Mini Cooper and keep the S badge, but then kind of dumb it down and expect you just to not know. It's every bit as quick as your standard Mini Cooper S. And in fact, the 0 to 60 time is right around the same, which is kind of cool. Now, as you guys can see here, a few things you don't get with the base model. You do not get the heads-up display, which has its own issues. You do not get this larger 8.5-inch touchscreen with the base model. But what you do get is, of course, the same range, which is the biggest upside with this car, but honestly also the biggest downside with this car. It's only rated at around 185 kilometers of range on a full charge. However, this morning, fully charged, we had it charging for 11 plus hours overnight, and fully charged this morning, it said I had a range of 170 kilometers. And on the left here, on this LCD screen here, you can see how much power I'm using with the throttle at any given moment. And if you keep your eye on it, you'll see I'll generally be, at the top 50% of the power, because it's, I'm driving a Cooper S. You don't buy a Cooper S and drive it like you do a Nissan Leaf, which is, I believe, what the kind of target audience here that Mini's going for, okay? But let's put it into perspective, because the Cooper S does have many things going strong for it as far as the EV competition goes. It weighs between 300 and 400 pounds less than a Chevy Bolt or a Nissan Leaf. That inherently just will make it more fun, and that is absolutely the case here. Well, no, not as fun as rowing through the gears in a gasoline-powered Mini, and it will never be as fun as that to me. It is absolutely more of a driver's car than any EV I've ever driven, including that P85D. But at the time, the Model S, other than the straight line acceleration, it didn't really do much for me. But here, as a city car, this electric Mini Cooper EV actually makes a surprising amount of sense and you really have to calculate how much your commute is and kind of how practical it is for your own life. But if you're only kind of going around the city and you can live with less than 200 kilometers of range, it is a fantastic option in the EV market, especially for the price. If you drive it like I'm driving it now at full throttle, which is quite the experience, honestly. I mean, you can scoot along real quick, especially from a dig. Above 100 kilometers an hour, it's kind of a letdown. That's when it really starts dying down, and I actually believe that the Mini Cooper SE has a speed limit, and for us gearheads, this is extremely important. I believe this car actually has a speed limit or a hard cut at 93 miles an hour, which is slow. That's about 150-ish kilometers an hour. While yes, here in Canada, that is over any posted speed limit in the country. For us gearheads, that really doesn't matter. So to see a 93 mile an hour hard cut limiter is kind of a disappointment, but it is a Cooper S that is not catered towards the gearhead. It just isn't. It's catered to the less expensive, lower end of the EV market. But that being said, when you test drive it, it's guaranteed this is going to be way more fun than a Bolt or a Leaf or any of the kind of lower, the new Hyundai, I forget what it's called, but their new electric vehicle. Guaranteed without question, this is going to be more fun to drive on a back road. Because it does have such low range, it does have quite strong regenerative braking, and it has 2 settings for that. Now, this is where I've totally yet to get used to driving EVs. It has 2 settings. One, like let's say I let off the throttle here at 75 kilometers an hour. It's going to kind of engine brake while recharging the battery, and now we're down at 50 and 40. So it's kind of slow, right? That being said, it's still like more of a stronger kind of engine brake than most gasoline powered cars I drive. And there's no third setting. There's no like off. There's no true coast mode in this car. The other setting is strong regenerative braking, which from 90K, it's like you're pretty hard on the brakes. It feels like you're hard on the brakes, right? But I'm not touching anything, and the car will just come to actually a full complete stop, and I haven't touched anything. So you can drive this vehicle with just 1 foot if you get really good at it. I still find it super weird. I don't like it. I go in the low setting, which maybe has contributed to the lower range I'm experiencing, but that being said, it is worth noting. One other kind of negative that I've noticed is regardless of the trim package you go with, you don't get adaptive cruise control, which in an EV, because you don't have gears and because you don't have that just general sense of how fast you're roughly going at any given moment, as you would in, let's say, a manual transmission or even an automatic where you feel it shift and you can hear the engine note, roughly know what RPMs and what speed you're going. It seems like adaptive cruise control would be just on the base model, because it is so hard if you're not constantly looking at the speedo to really know how quick you're going. There's no real sense of it just overall. So that is definitely a downside. I have no idea why Mini included like the heads-up display but not adaptive cruise control. Seems strange to me. But that being said, it is still a Mini Cooper S. It is still fun to drive. It's got plenty of grip, even with these winter tires on here. And around the city, like, for its size and for the amount of torque it has, there's gonna be nothing quicker, basically, around the city than this car. You're gonna get off the line and across the intersection quicker than basically anything other than, some of these other EVs that cost way more. It's really remarkable how far 200 pound-feet has gone in this car. But all right, let's try and find a charging station, and we'll talk a little bit about the pricing and what options you get, as well as how quickly you can charge back up and get right up back to that 185 kilometers fully charged range. So let's go see if we can find a charging station. Okay, so I already have begun to hate electric vehicles even more. That's a lie, I don't hate them, but we are here in South Surrey, British Columbia at Grandview Heights Aquatic Center, and we've run into our first real world issue with electric vehicles. Now, as you can see beside us, there is a Nissan Leaf. It's kind of cool to see the competition here, and there's 2 EV charging spots. Now, we'll go around to the back, and let's open up the cap here. Get ready to charge, right? Should be just that simple. Oh wait, there's no cable here. So this charging center at Grandview Heights Aquatic Center only has one of the charging cables installed. So we physically cannot charge at this location, even though I looked it up on Google Maps beforehand, and it states there are 2 charging ports. And there's literally a cap on the bottom here, so it is not possible for us to charge. We were gonna yank the cable out of the Nissan Leaf, but kind of decided against it. It might not be the best idea. So let's hop back in the car. Hopefully we don't run out of range and go find another charging location. Jesus. Okay, so luckily we do not live in the middle of nowhere, and it only took about 2 minutes to find another charging port. And this one, thank God, it actually has a cable attached to it. So we're going to, we're just gonna plug it in, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about what do you have to do. You have to tap, let's tap my Visa here. Beep. Continue. Card is now authorizing. This is my first time plugging in an EV at a public charging point. Okay, so now it's unlocked and we're good to go. Bring this around to the side here. Pop this open. And here we go. Okay, so basically Mini Cooper SE comes with, from the factory, just a level 1 charging cable, right? So that's, you could just plug it into your normal outlet at home. That'll take a crazy amount of time, even just to get you up to that 185 kilometer range. It takes about, I believe, 8 to 11 hours. This should be a level 2, so Mini claims it'll take you from 0% to 80% in about 4 hours. And then if you're able to find a DC fast charger, that will actually take you from 0 to 100% or 0 to 80% in about 35 minutes. So that's like crazy quick. You can literally just, do some errands, go grocery shopping, whatever, get some food, and 35, 40 minutes later, you're back up to 80%. So like I said, it does start, the base model here starts at $39,000, but this one fully optioned out is about $47,000 Canadian. Now I want to, and this isn't a knock on Mini, but it's just to put things in perspective real quick. For an extra $4,000 to $5,000, you're hitting a base Tesla Model 3, okay? Which has more than double the range. And I'm gonna leave it there. That's all you need to know. You guys can do your own research on EVs, prices, options, but if you're really looking for just a really small, compact city EV, I'd suggest you just go with the base model. But if you need all the tech and the extra moonroof, you do get wireless charging, you get a bigger LCD screen with this top model, you get the heads-up display, you get the accents, you get options for cool wheels. There's a bunch of things you do get. But if you're looking at the top model, I would highly suggest looking at some of those other EVs with more than double the range of this for only, $3,000 to $5,000 more. It hasn't gotten old driving a silent car. Like, it's really fun to drive like an asshole and drive how I would drive a sports car, where normally that style of driving would get people to either call the cops or give you dirty looks or be like, slow down. In an EV, nobody's looking at you because they can't hear you. It's just the inherent stealthy nature is absolutely the #1 thing I love about EVs. I do love EVs as a daily. Now, will I ever not own a gasoline powered car? No, I will own gasoline powered cars for the rest of my life. It's kind of making me nauseous though, you guys. And I'm not exaggerating. If you're not used to it, which I am absolutely not, the sensation of just the utter smooth, silent acceleration and torque delivery from like 0 to 100, if you're, it can get away from you real quick and you don't realize how quick you're accelerating, but you do it enough. Like, I'm beginning to feel a little bit, unsettled in the head. Not quite nauseous, but, approaching that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick review on the 2020 Mini Cooper SE. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We just put out a video recently with an 850 wheel horsepower R35 GTR and as well a 450 wheel horsepower STI. We're not going away from the modified cars at all this year. In fact, we're going to be doubling down both on the modified car stories as well as really only driving the manufacturer and brand new cars. that we find really interesting and that you guys may enjoy as well. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.